Special Envoy discusses with the Emirati diplomatic advisor Anwar Girgash last peace efforts in Yemen. Massam, the mining project, says the Houthis have turned daily objects into explosive devices. Programs of women adult education in Abyan continue despite shortage of international funding. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English news with me, Rushan Fuad. The UN envoy to Yemen, Hans Grunberg, met in the UAE with Anwar Girgash, the diplomatic advisor to the UAE president. They discussed the developments to the crisis in Yemen, as well as efforts to reach a ceasefire and a sustainable political solution. Girgash highlighted the UAE's support for Yemen's people, as well as Grunberg's efforts to reach a permanent ceasefire and facilitate serious dialogue. The International Organization for Migration said migration operations from the Horn of Africa passing through Yemen will witness a significant increase during the current year. The organization said that more than 138,000 African migrants are expected to arrive in Yemen due to drought in the Horn of Africa. Massam announced it has located and destroyed about 390,000 explosive devices in Yemeni liberated areas. Mines in Yemen still pose a huge problem to the lives of people and the development in the country. The following report has more details.
Yemen has had to deal with mines that were planted during the past 6 wars. Those were traditional mines, but the Houthis introduced locally produced ones. One of the oddest explosives discovered by Massam project in Yemen was a bean can, had poppy trapped in form of a landmine. Massam said that the Houthis has designed the explosive in a way that it would explode the moment someone approached it. Nearly 85% of the mines that have been removed by Massam were locally made and designed to inflict the greatest harm possible to civilians. As of the first week of February, the teams have removed 386,282 mines and explosives. The most common mines discovered by Massam are ones that are designed to appear as regular everyday objects, such as rocks, bean cans, pieces of metal, and even palm tree trunks. The Houthis would plant the explosives in civilian areas, such as farms, streets, schools, fields, and even water sources. The militias have planted explosives in 18 Yemeni provinces, and Massam is operating in 11: Sana'a, Hodeidah, Aden, Al-Bayda, Al-Jawf, Lahj, Ma'rib, Shabwa, Ta'ez, Al-Dala, and Saada. They have so far cleared 44,122,922 square meters of territory. Massam is cooperating with the Yemen Executive Mine Action Center, YEMEN, to save as many innocent lives as possible from the danger of mines and explosives in the liberated regions. One of the main challenges facing Massam is the fact that the Houthis have planted mines randomly, leaving no maps to indicate their locations. It has had to rely on field sweeps and information collected on the ground, such as from citizens, and unfortunately, when explosives are set off, which is a nearly daily occurrence. In fact, some areas that have been cleared by Massam have again been planted with explosives because the military operations have not stopped.
A museum in Washington announced that it is keeping 77 looted Yemeni artifacts, which will be returned by America in agreement with the government. The agreement signed between the Yemeni government and the museum stipulated that the museum keep these pieces for a renewable 2-year period to be returned to Yemen in the future. The following report has more details.
The United States has returned 77 looted antiquities to Yemen, as U.S. authorities said, adding the objects would be housed temporarily in a museum in Washington, in line with an agreement with the war-torn country's government. The announcement was made jointly by the prosecutor's office, and the pieces include 64 relief-carved stone heads, 11 Quran manuscript pages, and a bronze inscribed owl. New York State's Justice Department has been carrying out a vast campaign for several years to restore antiquities looted around the world, which have ended up in museums and galleries in the metropolis. Between 2020 and 2021, at least 700 pieces were returned to 14 countries, including Cambodia, Egypt, Greece, India, and Pakistan. The antiquities were imported into the U.S. from Dubai using false documentation. Yemen's ambassador to the United States expressed his deep gratitude to New York, according to his statement. The Yemeni government and the museum have signed an agreement to preserve the objects for 2 years, with the option of renewing them at Yemen's request. Smuggling antiquities is a scenario that has not stopped in Yemen, and systematic aggression against the country's wealth and history recently. Yemeni workers in the antiquities sector accused the Houthi militia of systematic destruction of national artifacts through smuggling, trading, bombing, and using the museums as military barracks. And observers see the importance of forming an independent national committee to restore the looted and smuggled Yemeni antiquities outside the country, and to prevent commercial agencies from selling them in auctions, due to their close connection with the ancient Yemeni civilization and its glorious history.
بعد أسبوع أكا انتبه وصحصح كها فقط يعني نسمع كنت أفكر كيف أعيش كيف أرجل مباتر وأني كيف أعيش كيف أعمل إنني أتألم إنني نسمع لكن ما أظهرش ألمي قدامهم يعني أخلي نفسي بينهم طبيعي وأجلس أبيع بالدكان وأتغافل مع الناس أحيانا أنسي إنني مبتور والله نسي وأحيانا لقى جلس كل حالي يرجع لي الهموم السك الآن صح ما نجي مرتاحة نفسية عاد اللي محبوس يفتك حبسه واللي هو مقيد يفتك قيوده أنا يفتك قيودي ولا يفتك حبس.
Government forces thwarted the movements of the terrorist Houthi militia northwest of Ma'rib. In El Jaf, the army forces thwarted an attack launched by the Houthi militia on its positions in El Abtar front and the adjacent areas north of the governorate. In Taiz governorate, government forces managed to thwart an infiltration of the Houthi militia north of the city. Military sources stated that the Houthi militia tried to infiltrate the positions of the government forces, but the latter managed to repel them and caused the militia at least 1 death and a number of wounded. The Yemeni security services in Taiz governorate seized the shipment of smuggled weapons that were on their way to areas controlled by the Houthi militia. The smuggled shipment contained 22 weapons and more than 30 various ammunition canisters, in addition to other weapons that were on board a car on its way to the city of Makha. Despite the war and the challenges that encounter the Yemeni people, the turnout to the centers of illiteracy by women is increasing. More on this is in the following report.
Adult education in Yemen still continues to help women alleviate their awareness and improve the quality of their lives. Rida Khaled is eagerly heading to the Adult Education Center that she recently joined, like other women who found in these centers an opportunity for education and to shake off the dust of ignorance.
We come from a far place in order to learn Quran and to help our children in their study. We have started learning to read and write thanks to the teachers.
Here in this learning center, the goal is the same, where you see many women who come to join classes with determination. Some of them take these tin-roofed buildings as a place to study, and some of them come to learn under the trees, regardless the weather conditions.
We came to learn and eradicate illiteracy. The teachers made a great effort to help us in reading and writing.
Despite the lack of available resources, those in charge of these centers make tremendous effort to teach women the alphabet and reading and writing, also the basics of arithmetic, culture and Islamic studies, which contributes to enhancing their knowledge and obtaining a degree of education. That will grant them better chances in life and help their children with their study.
Despite the difficulties that we suffer from as a result of the war and economic crises, Adult Education Agency has given great attention and encouragement to women to be educated in the literacy centers spread in the districts and villages. There was a great turnout, especially among elderly people. We suffer from a lack of financial funding in Abyan, as well as a lack of financial entitlement of female teachers.
I'm a literacy program teacher. We are witnessing a great turnout from women, especially the old people, who want to learn. Women want to learn reading and writing to improve their lives.
The increasing number of women for adult education centers here in Abyan Governorate is a positive sign amid the increasing awareness of the importance of education, which requires attention to this aspect and more efforts to be made so that illiterate women can make the most of the possibilities of education.
Coming next. Saudi Arabia deposits $1 billion in Yemen's central bank to support collapsing economy.
أبي مات بشارع 40 دحين أنا أشقى على أسرتي مع باقي اللي أنا أصرف عليهم كل شيء. أنا اسمي أنس غصيب سيف عمري 12 سنة. أنا أشتغل بورشة حديد من الساعة 7 للساعة 6. أحيانا أسرع، أحيانا أقص، أحيانا أرنق، أحيانا أنقش، أي حاجة أنا أعمل. لا الساعة لما تدين الساعة 6 أوقف. أنا وقفت الدراسة عشان ما في أحد يشقى على أسرتي. أدرس أخواني الباقي. من دون 4 وأنا الخامس. أحلم إن أفتح ورشة أبي وأشقى على أسرتي وأمدي لهم مصاريف. وأدرس أخوتي الآخر الجامعات وأطبخ أي شيء.
Welcome back. The United Nations Development Programme and the King Salman Relief Center signed 2 project agreements to support conflict-affected communities in Yemen. The statement added that the first agreement, worth $4 million, is to expand the vocational and commercial skills training project for Yemeni youth. The statement indicated that the second agreement, worth $2 million, focuses on implementing a project to strengthen local mechanisms for building peace and protecting social cohesion. The Japanese government announced the provision of new funding of $1.8 million to Yemen during the current year. The statement added that the new funding will enable the United Nations to provide humanitarian assistance and protection to more than 245,000 internally displaced people. The president of the PLC thanked Saudi Arabia for the funding it deposited in the central bank. Saudi Arabia deposited $1 billion in a step that confirms Saudi keenness on supporting the brothers in Yemen in order to restore the security and stability in the country. This report gives more details.
Saudi Arabia deposited $1 billion into the Central Bank of Yemen in a bid to bolster the country's ailing economy as the state media said. In a brief statement, the state-run Saudi press said that the $1 billion deposited into the Aden-based central bank will help the Riyadh-backed administration implement economic reforms. Rashad al-Alimi thanks the Saudi government for the economic aid, and he clarified that the money would go towards funding new projects and stabilizing the currency. Two officials from the government said that the $1 billion aid package will help compensate for the sharp decline in oil revenues in recent months, as oil exports have slowed drastically following several Houthi drone attacks on tankers and other facilities late last year. The Arab Monetary Fund will help oversee the use of the $1 billion aid, as in April 2022, Saudi Arabia and the UAE promised $3 billion worth of aid to the internationally recognized president, but it remains unclear whether Tuesday's deposit is part of that pledge or not. Yemen's civil war now entering its 9th year, and it has wrecked the country's economy and pushed half of the population to the brink of famine. Over the past years, Aden branch of Yemen's central bank has driven inflation by printing new banknotes to finance debts and cover the cost of public sector salaries. However, Houthi-controlled areas do not accept notes printed by Aden's central bank. The continuation of the war in its current form leads the country to a real famine by limiting the alternative sources of income, striking social support networks, and providing a cover for practices away from the official framework.
The domestic gas crisis extended to the Hadramaut governorate after it afflicted the residents of the city of Aden. The price of a domestic gas cylinder jumped from 12,000 to 16,000 riyals, with an increase of nearly 50%. In Hadramaut governorate, residents complained that the majority of people are now using traditional methods of cooking food. Here is a reminder of the main headlines. The UN Special Envoy discusses with the Emirati diplomatic advisor Anwar Girgash late peace efforts in Yemen. Massam, the mining project, says the Houthis have turned daily objects into explosive mines. Programs of women adult education in Abyei continue despite shortage of international funding. This is the end of the news. It was Roshan Fouad. See you soon.